This is the Paltalk News Network.
The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
Welcome. News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not. And thanks to our great friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show. If you read today's PaltalkNewsNetwork.com site, as you should have, otherwise you have not completed your assignments, and you will be forced to go into detention after the show, you will see that there is an article there that is headlined Iran, a War of Necessity. Now, maybe some people have been whispering about this, but this is the first time that I know of that somebody with an expertise in the military has made this suggestion. The story was written by Dr. Richard Swier, who is a correspondent and contributor to the Paltalk News Network. And if you've not met Dr. Swier on this program before, he is a 23-year Army veteran. He retired as Lieutenant Colonel in 1990 with numerous medals, including the Bronze Star for heroism in ground combat. And so he knows what he's talking about, I guess, from a military point of view. He says that the President of the United States is absolutely wrong when he says Afghanistan is a war of necessity. He says that we should remove our troops forthwith from Iraq and from Afghanistan and point them toward Iran. And he believes that we should actually have boots on the ground in Iran. Dr. Swier believes that the Revolutionary Guard Army is no match for the United States military, that the people of Iran, unlike the people of Afghanistan, are prepared for regime change, that they want the kind of life that they had prior to the Islamic Revolution 30 years ago. And it is a war of necessity because if we do not act now, Iran is, unlike Afghanistan, a clear and present danger to the rest of the world as it develops nuclear weapons and plays around with the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency. We'll let you in, we won't let you in, we'll ship the depleted uranium offshore, we won't ship the depleted uranium offshore. You know, they keep playing this shell game basically with the rest of us. And at a certain point, Dr. Swier says it's going to be too late. The genie will be out of the bottle. That's a short version, very condensed version of his very well thought out piece, Iran, a War of Necessity, at PaltalkNewsNetwork.com. Very controversial suggestion. We're only going to talk about this for the first half hour because we have a guest here in studio the second half hour, so I'm going to get right to the calls. And let's start with Neil from Wales. Neil, welcome to News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Oh, hi, Gary. This gentleman, he wants to attack Iran. Could I just remind him that Iran has no tradition of militancy towards its neighbors? Iran has never ever threatened its neighbors in that region. Iran has never actually engaged in aggressive war since King Darius some 2,500 years ago. So where is the actual justification for what this man is demanding? That we go to war against a nation that has never expressed any form of aggressive intent against its neighbors, other than silly rhetoric against Israel, and a country that has only ever acted in defense of its interests. And so what if it does get nuclear weapons? Does he seriously expect the regime in Iran to actually fire a nuclear missile at Israel if they did fire a nuclear missile at Israel, they would actually be killing more Muslims than Jews. Does he realize that? What would the response of the rest of the Muslim world be to such an action? And what would the response of Israel, Europe and the United States be to Iran in response to a nuclear attack on Israel? The scenario is unthinkable. It's, in effect, it's mad. It's mutually assured destruction. And the regime controlling Iran are not that stupid. The Iranians are an intelligent people. They are an educated people, and they can make their own decisions without outside interference, and especially stupid threats from a man like this who should know better than to say such things publicly and to incite and antagonize an already bad, very bad relationship between Iran and our countries. If Iran does develop nuclear weapons, and if the unthinkable happens and it did use them, if it did allow a nuclear weapon to fall into the hands of terrorists, does this man know that every nuclear weapon and the explosion that's created from a nuclear weapon has a signature? Does he know that the residue from any nuclear explosion, the actual fuel, the fissile material that's used in that nuclear weapon, can actually be traced back to the reactor in which it was made? Does he actually know that? So Iran could not possibly allow a weapon to be smuggled into the hands of terrorists in the knowledge that it'll never get traced back to them, because such a scenario is unimaginable. So, and besides all this, Gary, where is this gentleman going to get the 450,000 US troops to go into Iran? Where is he going to get the international support and the consensus from the United Nations? Is America going to do this unilaterally in the face of international worldwide condemnation and outrage? Is he going to isolate America further? Is he going to create a scenario? Don't forget, Iran is very different from Iraq, Gary. Iran is a very mountainous country. Iraq is a very difficult country to invade. Iran has over 815,000 combat-ready troops and can call on 1.2 million reserves. So what would be the casualty figures amongst an American ground force going in there? If you put 450,000 US troops on the ground in Iran, you could expect 30% casualties. So is this guy quite happy to see fleets of C-130s with body bags containing American soldiers coming back to the US? I've never heard of anything so ridiculous. I don't even treat such a suggestion seriously. Anyway, thanks, Gary. Mic over.
Well, you said a lot of things, and there are a lot of people in line, so I don't want to engage in a protracted debate with you about the issue, and I'm not necessarily supporting Dr. Swier's position when I ask you this, but I want to get a little clarification of your point of view with regard to Iran procuring nuclear weapons. So in your mind, does the nuclear non-proliferation treaty hold any water? Is Iran not then entitled or required to abide by the nuclear non-proliferation treaty to